What is up? I'm Rides. You already know who I am. Today we're going to be talking about upcoming events, what's going on to the channel moving forward, and we're also going to be concluding the Cheap Bike Challenge today. So follow along, stick with me, and let's finish up this awesome, amazing learning experience of a series. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Small towns. Big dreams. Rise, let's go.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to the realest automotive and motorcycle content on YouTube. It's just me, a mic, my phone, and a tripod. You want real? This is as real as it gets. Now, I want to start off by saying I didn't achieve the goal that I was trying to achieve. And I'm not going to lie, I'm bummed about it. I set out with a goal, I didn't achieve it. So, the original goal for the Cheap Bike Challenge was to buy a bike under $1,000, have a budget with the bike in the budget of $1,500, and try to make it cool, make it run, make it ride, and have a cheap budget friendly cruiser. Well, that is no longer on the table. So I've got some notes here to go over. So first off, we're going to go over what the bike cost. So I picked up the Vulcan originally for $600. Went and got it. It was an hour away. So it was $600 for a 92 Vulcan 88. Not a bad purchase at the time. We ended up putting a stator and new pickup coil in it. So the stator itself was $135. The coils were $200. Throw in fluids, probably about $50 worth of fluids. That's oil, coolant, brake fluid, just kind of miscellaneous fluids. See here, going down the list, spark plugs, $40 at $20 for 4, because I had to do it twice because it fouled out a set of plugs. That was a fun time. So $40 for 2 sets of plugs, and then $20 for some valve cover gaskets. And I did pay somebody to put those valve cover gaskets in, so that was $150 of labor. So all in all, total right now, as the bike sits, we are $1,195 into the bike now. Now, let's get into the quote that I have from the shop. So, the bike started having some pretty catastrophic failures. I'd say probably about 3 weeks ago. Just running like crap, not staying running, not wanting to shift. It actually broke the shift lever. So, took it to a shop, let them take a look at it, and I have a quote for more than what I have into it now. So they found that the clutch is shot, which I already knew that. That clutch had a really, really late engagement period. $450 to change the clutch out. The carbs need retuned, synced, and possibly rebuilt. So the estimate on that one is between $350 and $500. And new tire on the rear is $250. Oh, and on top of that, somebody hack jobbed the wiring harness so bad that the lights can't be repaired. It would need a new harness for the lights. And after sitting down and thinking about it, even with me doing all the work, that would still blow our budget out of the water. So currently I have the bike posted up on Marketplace. We're going to see if we can maybe recoup some money and maybe try it again. But I've also kicked around the idea of maybe just taking that money, putting a down payment on a bike, and shooting more motovlog content of actually being able to ride it. And that would be pretty nice. So drop a comment down below and tell me what you think, what you want to see, and we'll make our next steps accordingly. I know this is a bit of a random spot for this, but I do want to share the clips of riding the bike that I have and I was able to get in the times that it did run. I did get to ride it out of town a couple times. I got to ride it to work a few times as well. When it was running correctly, it was fun to ride. and it's still a big bummer that we couldn't do what we wanted to do. But here's these clips. Enjoy what I got. Now, on to my honest opinion of a 1992 Vulcan 88. If you can find one that isn't trashed and total garbage, buy it. It's a good, reliable bike. But the problem I've ran into with the one that I have is too many people have had their hands in it, and there's too much stuff that's missing, causing problems now that would cost more to completely put it back to factory spec and then go from there. So, in my opinion, it could be a great bike. It could be a good learning bike, or it could be a good cheap low end cruiser. Just not the one that I have. Mine isn't a very good example. Now, let's get into the cons of a Vulcan 88. And this stems from the 80 from 1988 to 1993 until they swapped over to just the basic 1500. Um, the 88 is not mechanically friendly. And what I mean by that is to do a lot of engine maintenance and a lot of engine repairs, that motor has to come out. So, in order to put a clutch in, the motor has to come out. In order to put those valve covers in, the motor had to come out. In order to do anything that involves the top of the case, the sides, the jugs, the heads, anything, that motor has to come out because there's just genuinely no clearance between the frame and the bolts and anything. I mean, it's just too much stuff shoved into too small of a frame. Con number 2 of the Vulcan 88. Parts are hard to find, and when you do find them, they're expensive as all get out. A set of coils for that bike, for OEM spec coils that you don't buy off of eBay, were $199 for pickup coils. That is insane. Let alone the fact that the stator for it, had I went the OEM route and not gone to an aftermarket website, was going to be almost $250. So I'm going to say this: part availability is still somewhat there. Just don't expect to be able to find, aftermarket fairings or exhausts, footboards. But if you're looking for hard parts like mechanical parts, they're still out there. You can still find them. Kawasaki Parts Warehouse is where I found a lot of the stuff for the Vulcan. But that's going to be my number 2 complaint, is that older bikes parts are harder to find, and that goes for any old bike really, unless you're talking like 90s, early 90s Harleys and maybe Indians. But that's just because there's still so many of them out there that people are still riding. All right, I've talked on the cons. Now I'm going to give a couple pros here. Pro number 1 being the fact that it's a 92 and it has a hydraulic clutch. Um, is actually a really nice feature. It's a nice touch. I will say a hydraulic clutch is much smoother with the shaft drive than a cable clutch would be. And that's the other thing I'm gonna touch on is, with this bike being shaft driven, the RPM band, the power band is so smooth, and that just comes naturally with shaft driven bikes. Where you run into like belt and chain driven bikes, they can kind of sometimes be a little jerky or be a little clunky. But with the shaft drive, it's nice and smooth and even. So if you're looking for a smooth riding bike, I would highly suggest going for something that's shaft driven. Yeah, they're depending on what kind of shaft driven you get, there can be a little bit more to maintenance. But on the Vulcan 88, it's literally like a regular diff. Pop the lower drain plug, drain the fluid out, put new fluid in the top, boom, done. That simple. It's literally a fluid change. And if you ever need to, it's a cakewalk to pull the axle down, pull the axle out on the back tire, pop the 4 bolts out of the shaft drive unit, roll it back, and literally just take some high heat grease and you just grease the splines. slide it back together, boom, there's your maintenance. So, all in all, it's a pretty good system. And all in all, it runs and rides beautifully. So, don't let that deter you from getting a shaft driven bike or getting something that's bigger that is shaft driven. Because I'll be honest with you, even though this bike weighs in at almost 700 pounds, fully loaded wet, with me on it closer to 900 pounds. Oh, okay, 950 pounds. It still moves pretty good. It's still pretty nimble. I'll compare it to a Harley Fat Boy in comparison. Just think of a Fat Boy but with a bigger front tire. So it's still pretty nimble. That is going to be it for today's video. I know it's kind of short, sweet, and to the point. I know it wasn't as energetic and entertaining as normal, but for now, I don't know what the next step is moving forward. I don't know what the plan is. But if you stayed until this part here, subscribe, like, drop a comment down below, throw out some input. What would you come back to watch? Do you want to come back and watch more mechanic stuff? More taking stuff apart, fixing it, and doing it by hand? Or do you just want to see more riding content, more group rides, hanging out with friends? What do you want to see? Or both. I'll entertain both. So right now I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. So bear with me, stay with me. I'm going to try to keep posts coming, but obviously right now we've hit a bit of a roadblock. So as always, keep it 2 wheels down. I'm Rides. We'll catch you in the next one. Rides out.
From the roads now I'm calling